What's up, everybody? Jason over at Does Tested, Leo behind the camera. We're talking about our trail run in our 24 Ranger. We hit Broken Arrow up in Sedona, which is probably one of the more famous slash infamous. I think it's probably a little bit overrated as far as how scary it is, considering we did it on a bone stock Ranger and didn't have too many problems. I can't say I recommend it because we did rub frame, we did dent my exhaust, which is now an oblate spheroid instead of round, and I broke the trailer connector. I just broke one of the little tabs on it. It was super flimsy to begin with, so I'm kind of not surprised. Despite the fairly good departure angle of the Ranger, we managed to hit some things. So definitely, if you're going to do this trail, probably level and some tires at least. That'd be my recommendation. But we did survive, and we even went down double staircase in a bone stock Ranger. A lot of it is just kind of narrow. I don't recommend taking a full-size truck. I would not do this in my F-150, for instance. Ranger did fine. About that perfect, it's like the perfect mid-size vehicle trail. You start off on some dusty road through some pines, which is always pretty, and then you pretty much almost instantly end up on top of some of the Sedona's famous red rocks. Granted, they're a little bit more gray because they've been driven over so many times. The Pink Jeep Tours like half own this trail, but they pay for a lot of the upkeep, so we did give some deference to them. So if you do take this trail, make sure you stay out of their way because they have paying customers, and you're some dumb schlub like us who just wants to go out and have a good day and take some pictures and feel cool and special and whatever else. So yeah, that being said, Ranger did extremely well. Like we've been talking about, that truck has 373s, decent tires, and a hell of a good powertrain, and that takes you a long way. Factor in decent ground clearance stock. The rake doesn't help. We scraped the air dam at least once. We came close a couple times. We did scrape frame a few times over some of the bigger obstacles, just getting a little bit high centered, coming over some of the things. So that is my fault for getting a little bit hefty with the power. There's a couple of areas where your front tires will be on slick rock and your back tires will just be on dust. And there were a few times where the back tires were spinning, and so I was putting on the throttle, and then all of a sudden the truck suddenly grabbed the traction and lunged forward, and I kind of hit frame. So that's also where I dinged the exhaust too. But yeah, you come to some of the slick rock, which is just kind of fun to crawl on. None of that is super technical in the beginning. Follow that, you kind of go up into probably some of the more technical parts of the trail. There's some slick rock areas followed by more dusty areas, and that's where you see that kind of dust to rock transition where you're gonna get some weird traction. And again, the Ranger's tires are pretty good. They're the Goodyear Territories ATs, even the M+ SP rated tires, but having like a solid AT out here would be great. Something like a Falcon Wild Peak AT3W, go see our other review, the new AT4W. Really any solid all-terrain would be perfect. This is kind of perfect for that. I don't even think you don't really need MTs. Maybe if it was raining, an MT would come in handy, but for the most part, just like a solid AT that's probably aired down a little bit, and you'd be really good to go. Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with the Ranger right now is just kind of, again, tire. Could use a better tire, and then some more ground clearance would be helpful, especially up front with that air dam. Like, you have to go super slow over some of these obstacles to not hit that air dam, and even then you're coming pretty close. And despite the pretty good departure angle in the back, the tailpipe for the exhaust hangs down pretty low. We actually ended up denting it, so now it went from this to like this. So not great, but what can you do? It's going to get a cat back eventually at some point. If he has one that ends before the axle, even though I'm a little bit worried about how it sounds because it's hard to make a Turbo 4 sound good, and if you're ending before the axle, it's probably going to sound like crap. So this might be one of those function over form things. Here's an area where I was struggling to get up again. Had a couple tires in the dust. Yeah, I really lurched forward on that one. The tire traction just suddenly grabbed right away. And some of that transition from the dust to rock stuff is really tough. Tough to gauge how much power you need to put down. I mean, overall, it's not too bad, especially if you're on consistent terrain. But the fact that this that trail does transition so much from dusty to rocky. It's kind of a pain in the ass. And the dust is really fine too. It gets everywhere, and it does not, it's very slick. You would think that we'd be able to eventually grab, and it just doesn't. You'll spin and spin and spin, and then all of a sudden forward. And then we also stopped to get some good shots of this truck sitting, and we'll have photos up there on our website, which are always fun. On a lot of trails that are fairly wide and they have some room to maneuver, you can actually take kind of like a looping angle for some of these obstacles and just kind of get a tire planted on one side and kind of weeble wobble over. Broken Arrow is pretty narrow, so you almost always have to just hit these obstacles straight on, and that's where a lot of the problems come in with approach and departure angle. That's where having a lack of clearance or having a very long truck like an F-150 with a pretty big wheelbase is an issue. But the Ranger's pretty narrow, wheelbase isn't too huge, probably bigger than what's ideal for a trail like this, like it's not Jeep or Bronco small. That being said, from what I remember, when the Stage 3 Bronco did this trail, it actually dragged a lot on the trailing arms. So for us to like kiss frame and exhaust a little bit, not too shabby. And we didn't ever have, we kept it in 4 high the entire time. I didn't ever put it in 4 low. I kept it in 4 high. There's probably sometimes I probably should have put it in 4 low, and that probably would help with some of that like really grabby stuff, but yeah, whatever. Again, taking a lot of these obstacles just slow because I didn't want to tear the air dam completely off. I wasn't too worried if I touched a little bit. It's the air dam. Don't care. I'm going to put bumpers on this truck and skid plates anyway. That thing's out of here. If bumpers and skid plates ever show up for the Ranger, hurry it up, folks. Tacomas aren't that important. But yeah, some of these obstacles you do have to take pretty gentle just to avoid scraping too much. You can really, really grab low. You're not pushing too hard. Again, I struggled over some of these obstacles, and it was almost every single one of them was rear tires in dust, front tires on rock, and it just couldn't quite, the front tires didn't have enough traction to pull up, and the rear tires didn't have enough traction to push. Luckily, the hefty application of throttle helped. And by this time in the trail, I was getting a little bit more used to where it would kind of grab, so I was able to slow it down. You can see where some of that ground clearance came in handy on this little section through here. This is more of the slick rock that we're approaching Devil's Staircase. And again, I'm just kind of taking it easy through here, mostly so Leo didn't have to run, but because it was already hot-ish out there at 9:30 a.m. whenever we got out there. I think I just barely missed kissing the air dam on that one. Again, taking it slow definitely helps. I think go 3 wheels here for a second. Yep, there we go. Hey, at least I didn't hit the exhaust. I think this is where we started to head down Devil's Staircase or approach, because you kind of approach up and then down to Devil's Staircase, and we stopped for a minute to get the GoPro on the roof, which you'll see in some of these shots. Yeah, still some of the slick rock section coming out of that. Again, just kind of taking it slow. Yeah, here's another transition from that really fine Sedona moon dust rock, which takes some getting used to. Again, having better tires would help because it would be more likely to grab on both sides rather than just spinning in one direction. Spinning down low while the front doesn't move. Yeah, and here's the approach Devil's Staircase. I wasn't sure what line to take here, so I kind of went wide trying to get the tire up. And ended up just going 3-wheeling and then sliding down the dust anyway, so it was kind of not a great idea. Devil's Staircase and this trail are pretty rutted in some areas. There is like a huge mound in the middle and tires on the side, and I didn't want to risk scraping anything that actually mattered. It took me a minute to find a line. Coming down here into Devil's Staircase now. Probably the biggest challenge Devil's Staircase with these stock tires is that it's super slick and gravity is not your friend. There's a lot of just, you can see me braking and the truck just keep going. So I was trying to find a line where I would allow that to happen without hitting anything that important underneath. I think I scraped frame a little bit. Yeah, there's a big slide right there. You can hear it too. And then Here, I wasn't sure what line to quite take. I thought I might get over some of the big step area here, and then I ended up changing my line and try to avoid, again, there's some really rutted areas here that I wanted to avoid because I didn't want to end up grinding anything underneath the truck. Fortunately, I ended up kind of sliding right into it, but the Ranger had enough ground clearance underneath it. It turned out okay, so go figure. And you have some more sliding. Just barely kissed the air dam on there. I don't think there was any avoiding it. Like I said, the truck was settling into those ruts. It was just, you'd kind of start out on the top of it, but then you'd slide and you kind of end up on a line that you didn't really want to end up on, which was unfortunate. However, this was the very bottom and we made it out just dandy. So yeah, that was Broken Arrow Trail. It's gorgeous. Definitely some really good sights and views. It's, again, not the toughest trail in the world, but for a bone stock truck, you're gonna end up grinding. I don't recommend you take a bone stock truck on this. Again, I've been doing this a long time and I'm kind of an idiot and I didn't care if I did scrape my truck a little bit. So yeah, don't be me, friends. Do as I say, not as I do. Even though that makes me a sad, sad hypocrite. But anyway, that was Broken Arrow Trail. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell. Check us out on Patreon, your socials, and our website. If you don't want to hear my stupid voice and see my dumb face actually talking about this and just enjoy the trail with the au natural sounds of a 2.3 EcoBoost and a lot of tire squealing, we'll have a separate video up that completely nixes this commentary, so you don't have to listen to my stupid ass. But we'll catch you guys next time.